All right, it's time for the crossover. And Evan Giddings is in for Daryl the Guru Johnson, and we're now joined by Mark Willard and Dan Dibley after a wonderful weekend. Right?
Was it, though?
Oh, it was amazing. It was a great weekend.
Was it?
It was pretty good.
I had to give away my comedy tickets to Evan Giddings.
What? Wait.
I couldn't go. No,
yeah.
I was glad. I was actually stoked that somebody could make use of him.
You
Yeah.
went to
He went to a show last
The
night.
comedy show last night. Yeah. Did you tell Evan that you reached out to me, not first, but prior to
Actually,
Evan?
only honestly,
Okay.
it was. I'm like, I'm gonna keep this in the family first. I'll
I
go to my
appreciate
partner
that. Yeah,
first
yeah. And I
because
love that.
like it's easier for Evan to get a night out than it
you
is
think?
for you.
You think?
By just a smidge. So I was like, let's take a shot and see if I can get Dibs and Sup a date. And I knew that it was a complete and total Hail Mary.
long shot.
I knew
Yeah.
you were going to be like, no. And then
I really appreciate
And then
the
we
love,
kicked
though.
it
It
over
was
to
great.
Evan,
Yeah.
who I've run into at a comedy show before.
This is true.
So I knew, and so did the lovely Christy. She's going to be listening and she's going to want credit because she's like, you should give him to Evan. And I'm like, I did think of that, but I want to try Dibs first. And then we asked Evan, and what'd you text back? Sick. Like, that's it. It was just sick. I'm like, I think we got to take her. We're in.
Not
yeah.
that you were
There's a fat let's go. Absolutely.
LFG, sick.
I don't care if I'm first, if I'm fourth, if I'm 14th.
Yeah.
If you're offering me tickets and I can use them, it does not matter when we get to
but
that
Bruce
point.
Bochy was picked 4 or something like that. Now he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So
Yeah, Piazza was
it's all
an
good.
afterthought. you know?
Yeah,
Come
it's
on.
all good.
It's awesome.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I was just glad somebody got some belly laughs out of it.
No, thank you, Willard. That was
Yeah,
really nice
no.
of you.
Clearly,
And Christy.
Yes.
clearly there's something that we haven't talked about, and
Oh,
that
boy.
is,
Here we go.
did I cross your mind at all?
No, not even once.
Well,
No, because
the
Evan,
comedy topic
You
was
have
not the
already
Arctic,
seen
so he
Evan
didn't
at a
think you'd
comedy
want it.
club.
it did not seem like your jam. I was
Was it in the evening?
sure. No, I was
Yes.
sure that
Well, then
Dibs
it wasn't.
couldn't go. I was sure that you wouldn't want to go. I was sure, and I'm right.
Yeah, getting into the city
I'm
at
right.
7 o'clock on a Sunday night.
Like I'm right. I knew you wouldn't want to go. So I figured that it would almost be offensive if I texted you because you'd be like, why the hell would you think that like, come on.
Who the hell do you think you are?
who was the
You
comedian?
don't know me at all.
Who was the comedian?
Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
He's pretty
he's
good.
big.
He's pretty
He's
good.
doing Chase Center. You got to be big.
Yeah,
to
I'm
do
gonna be
well.
honest. I hadn't
Yeah,
heard
but
of
he-
him before.
Oh,
He was
really?
hilarious. No, I hadn't heard
Oh,
of him.
gosh.
But I'm introduced to him now. He's
Yeah.
really good.
But okay. He played at Chase Center, but he's not playing in front of 17,000.
But he's a big boy.
Yeah, but it's probably in the round,
Like-
about 6,000.
Yeah, but if he was a B class comedian, he'd be somewhere
Well, then
else. He wouldn't be a chaser.
He's not. He's big deal right now.
He's got like 6 specials.
He's a big deal.
At least he told me
Like
last night.
we made this whole thing about Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Sebastian and Bill Burr that's
Neck and neck?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, I think it just comes down to preference at that point.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. That's all comedy, right? Like, what's your jam? Like, what's your style?
very different styles.
Totally.
I kind of
Very
like that
different.
guy who's he's from the South. He's a big guy.
Oh, you're talking about Shane Gillis.
Is that the guy who drinks bourbon every
I
show?
think a lot of them
I
do.
think they all,
but-
yeah. Hollywood, they all drink bourbon. But you talk, he does a really good Trump impersonation.
Farley?
He's got a very thin little mustache. He hosted SNL.
Oh, no.
Too
This
soon.
guy's like a big burly guy, and anyway.
Larry the Cable Guy?
No,
Gaffigan?
not Gaffigan.
He knows Gaffigan.
I do know Gaffigan.
Mark knows comedy, so you
I
can aim
do.
all this his way.
You know,
Mark's a
Gaffigan,
big comedy
if
guy.
you haven't turned 40 yet, Gaffigan, just wait on it.
I
'Cause
got
it's
you.
all targeted toward parents.
I'll
But
tell you what. In fairness, I've seen comedy. I've seen one comedy show,
one,
and it was
how'd it go?
unbelievably funny. And you
great.
probably heard of this guy, Dana Gould.
I've heard of Dana Gould. I don't know the
It was
work.
about 15 years ago.
Okay.
Oh man, he was pretty funny.
You did comedy yourself at the roast of Jason Barrett.
no.
You took the stage.
I did take the
You
stage.
took the stage and you ran material. Material was run.
Come on, he does comedy every day from 10 to 2.
All right.
Lay off.
Right?
Comedy
text
from
line?
10 to 2.
Totally.
By the way,
Yes.
Yeah.
lock
make me
up
laugh today.
Snell. Lock him up, Mark. Right
Wow,
now.
What'd he do?
He Just another game where he doesn't give up anything.
Like, you made it sound like it was a misdemeanor.
Lock him up.
I think he probably could.
He either opts in or he opts out.
You can. Chapman and the Giants are talking right now, so it's allowed.
It's allowed.
Yeah,
but
it's allowed.
You can't lock him in.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can Brandon Ayuk. He's locked in.
The issue is both of them have the same agent, and he is known for not doing anything early ever.
And he's your favorite agent, I believe, right?
Scotty B.
He had a great offseason, didn't he?
Yeah. Ron White. Ron White.
Ron White. Okay, sure.
Thank you, text line.
Ron White with the cigar all the time.
Yeah.
I know Ron.
Big picture,
Ron
Boris.
is funny.
Boris is all about the big picture, even when it fails him.
Mark, what's the funniest comedy show you've ever been to?
Joe Coy. We saw Joe Coy a year or two ago down at the San Jose Event Center, and we still talk about it. And he's coming to Chase here in a couple of months as well. We're going to try to go again. He is such an incredible showman. So yeah, that's my answer. You're looking at me like you don't even know who that is.
I don't.
Well, I feel like it is hard sometimes because the bigger names are going to be on the bigger stages. And I do feel like when you go to a comedy club, or even sometimes if it's like an amateur night, there's more of that intimacy and read and react with the crowd that really does separate a lot of the bigger comedians because they have that. They can do it. It's in their bag. But a lot of them, like the Coys, the Burrs, last night, they're working on material towards their next special. So they rarely deviate. Or when they do, it's kind of timed. And not that it's forced or anything because they're really good. But I do feel like a lot of the best comedic experience that I've had have been, I don't know, like at a comedy club in Oakland.
Go to Cobb's.
Or Cobb's. Or at the Punchline and like somebody you don't expect shows up or someone you don't know is really funny and just hammers the crowd or goes after a city or something that's specific to you. Or maybe you're involved in the show yourself. You choose to sit in the first or front row and then you know that you're ripe for the picking and you're with someone that's got a story there that they're going to ask about and you got to make sure that you're prepared to just weigh in and get absolutely leveled by whoever's on stage. Those are the best.
Sounds fun. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I knew you wouldn't want to go. I knew you wouldn't want to go.
Perfect.
I don't need to be drawn attention to by a comedian.
Well, then you just sit in the back.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Hey, can you believe Kyle Shanahan took that kind of risk?
That's a fireable offense.
With the franchise.
Honestly. To expect a football player to go out and actually gasp, hold cheeks, play football, that to me is reckless. It's reprehensible. And if Kyle Shanahan isn't fired by the end of our show, darn it, then I'm going to get a torch and a pitchfork and I'm going to march on Santa Clara.
Hold on.
It's a joke.
You're being sarcastic, obviously. But let me throw this out there. How would you feel today if one of those hits went wrong? How would you feel? Now, I was in the middle of a show with a former offensive lineman as this was happening. He called it dangerous. He said, that's dangerous. You do not put, if you think that this guy's worth $60 million, why are you sticking him out there with a bunch of people who are going to be bagging groceries in 2 weeks?
Because
that's dangerous.
Well, who's bagging groceries? Like the starting offensive line that was out there?
First of all,
than Trent Williams?
Yeah, well, that's a big piece of your offensive line.
Right.
And
Jalen Moore's looked great in camp.
Great camp. And again,
well, he's your starter right now.
Even the ones he's not. Trent Williams will start at left tackle, and even the ones who are potentially going to be starters, they're also rookies. Everybody's prone to a mistake. The other team's playing their starters. Your wide receivers are running absolutely absurd routes. You're running a naked boot, for God's sakes, which means I don't care who the hell you're on the field with. You're exposing him to a hit. Fireable offense, all that. I get your joke. It's none of that. It's none of that. It is a head scratcher, though, because you are putting him in harm's way. Steiny, I loved your point that maybe he did it because they lost the joint practices.
Right.
That's my best guess too, but it is odd.
Well, Evan, you made the comp to last year where they all played, if I'm not mistaken, and you were running down the list, and I was on my way into work, and Debo played last year in the second game, and Brandon played, and George played, and I think that Trey played, and Juwan played. They all played, and the best way to get ready for a football season is to play some football, and that's what That's what he did. He didn't play an entire half, and he's going to play on Friday. So I don't really see what the big deal is.
You don't see the difference between those two? Like, if you're playing with the 49ers.
Last year, he was coming off an injury.
That's and by the way, all the
Which
more
was
reason.
more reckless last year than this year, where he's 100% healthy.
Not necessarily. Doctors are saying whether that's re-injurable. The point is he needed even more time to get up to speed last year than he does this year, number one. But number two, last year he was playing with the 49ers. This year,
these are mostly the 49ers.
I would argue that the majority of the people on the field last night were not 49ers.
I would argue that the things that he was out there trying to do have nothing to do with who was running routes. And you can talk about 2 for 6 for 11 yards or whatever the numbers were. Who cares? He was out there so that he could face actual human beings who were trying to tackle him, and so that he could feel the rhythm and the adrenaline of actual football. Because in practice, he knows that no one can touch him, and he knows he's not going down. So to be able to go out in a game and maybe get knocked down, we got hit 3 times. None of the hits were that devastating, and those are things that are going to help him get sharp for the regular season.
True.
How do you know if a hit's going to be devastating until it happens?
Well, they weren't.
He
didn't hold the ball and ball and try to make the big throw down the field. He got down and he played safe and he played smart.
To act like you can control in a football environment whether or not you get hurt is crazy to me.
This to me is the same mentality of people, and I think you were one of them who were worried about Steph playing in the Olympics because he might get hurt.
Absolutely, I was one of them.
And
but at least that had a point that he cared about, that they were trying to.
The point was that's risky basketball. FIBA rules is like rough.
Right,
it's like rough and tumble.
But
rules.
he had a career goal that was on the line there. I just don't.
And Brock has a career goal too, which is to be ready for week 1 and win a Super Bowl. He wanted to play, and this is what football players do to get ready.
All the other ones didn't.
Did Mahomes play? Did Josh Allen play?
I'm not talking about any other camp. I ain't talking about any other camp.
I'm talking about
this kid. Did they go out there with a bunch of 4th stringers?
No.
None of them did that.
Jalen Moore is a starter.
Nobody did that, Dibs. Nobody in the NFL. No quarterback.
McKivitz, starter.
No quarterback.
Brendel, starter.
Great.
Those guys are all the offensive line. And Kyle Shanahan, you can play the sound later. Steiny's played it a bunch, and I love your use of sound. It's fantastic. But the reason why he played, you've gotten a lot better. You're actually borderline a real host now. But
borderline.
The fact that he played all these offensive linemen was because he wanted to protect Brock Purdy.
The offensive line is one piece of the picture. No other quarterback in the NFL did this, and I will never not find it to be head-scratching. I'm not offended by it.
Yeah.
I don't think anything should happen. He shouldn't be questioned. We're not marching on Levi's. I don't get it, though. I don't get it. Like, that doesn't make... If you want him to go get a few reps, then get everybody out there with him and have a few reps. Like, getting timing with Trent Taylor at this point does what?
It's not about timing.
Yes, it is.
I don't think
that's exactly what it's about. If
it was about timing, then you'd have Brandon Ayuk in camp. It's not about timing.
He's not on the team yet.
It was about him being out there with actual pass rush and actual people trying to tackle him. And, we can play the Brock Purdy cuts as well, and that's really that's why he was agitating to play. That's why he was looking to play, and he's going to play again on Friday. And we'll all hold our collective breath.
With teammates.
Because football is a dangerous game.
But he'll play Friday with teammates.
Right, but I just don't see where that's a big differentiator for me.
Yeah, we see that different. We see it different.
Brock Purdy wants to play football, and he wants to get up to speed and be ready for tackle football, and that's how you do it.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Yeah, the one thing that made it a little confounding for me is because Matt Barrows was on with us at noon, and he said they're all going to play Friday for maybe a half, he said. So I kind of did wonder if you know he's going to play a half with the starters or with everybody who's in camp who's probably going to start, I could see why you'd be like, well, why play him?
11 plays.
The reason why it was confusing to me is because let's look at Friday. If George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, whoever wasn't on the field on Sunday is on the field on Friday, and they're catching balls first series from Brandon Allen, I'm wondering why Brock Purdy's not on the field. Like, why are they on the field risking injury when they're going to be catching footballs from a guy that they're not going to be catching footballs from 2 weeks from then, week 1 of the regular season? Maybe Brandon Allen leads them over the middle. They get popped. Maybe he throws a hospital ball. I'm not saying Brandon Allen would do that, but that could be something that happens. I feel like if that happened, we would all be wondering why those guys are on the field in the first place. And to me, it's just the exact same thing, but just flipped. Like, why is Brock Purdy out there throwing to guys he's not going to be throwing to?
So then,
week 1.
Short of them having the entire complement of their offense, then we shouldn't play anyone, is basically what I'm drawing from this. So Brandon Ayuk is holding
for
in.
Like 9 plays.
How about some of it,
plays,
Dibs? Some of it.
Ayuk's not playing, so we shouldn't play Brock until Ayuk is out there because our whole offense won't be out there.
You're being disingenuous. No one's saying that. No one's saying that.
So Trent Williams isn't playing, so we shouldn't play Brock until Trent is ready?
He's literally damn close to the only player people have heard of who played.
It doesn't matter if you've heard of them or not.
Yeah, all the big guys didn't play. All of the important people.
So he should not play until all of the important people are ready. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not using the word should. I find it a little bit of a head scratcher. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Like, let's say he had lit it up. What the hell did you get out of that? You know where Trent Taylor is going to be on an out route. Great. What the hell does that do for anybody?
See, I don't think that, for me, it wasn't about lighting it up or what his stats were. It was about him being out there in real live football action. And yes, he had a lot of 2s around him. 2s and maybe some 3s. I don't know how the depth chart will shake out.
4s,
but for
5s.
Brock Purdy, the most important thing for Brock Purdy was to play football at game speed against other people who were trying to tackle him.
And I get that. And
Forget the timing with Trent Taylor.
I find the risk reward to be out of whack. That's me.
They found the risk reward to be very much in whack.
This whole dance is going to be over in 10 years. This thing ain't even going to exist.
Well, it's going to be less than 10 years. When they go to 18 games, they're going to go to 2 preseason games.
Like, is Sean McVay an idiot? Is he an idiot? Because he has told his guys now for 3 or 4 years, get the hell out of August.
He was in the broadcast booth this weekend. He wasn't even on the sidelines.
Kyle wasn't even calling plays yesterday.
Then why did he cancel joint practices?
Because they didn't have enough bodies to allow their 2s and their 3s to go against the other team.
The reward.
That's a great point.
There was no risk. When you have 24 guys who are injured, there's no, you can't play them. So the risk is that you don't have enough bodies. So it was just the risk body count
situation. Threw those bodies into a preseason game with his QB1. So if those bodies
you make it sound like he was playing with like 3s and 4s.
Well, but those 3s and 4s weren't good enough to do a joint practice against the Saints, which Purdy would have practiced anyways.
His running back was a 5.
Well, his running back probably will make the team.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, I like the player.
We'll see about that.
Well, even if so he's playing.
And we can inject the money part of this into it if you want, and we can talk about the disingenuous. Well, it's about the money. That's why they have these preseason games.
No, it's about trying to win this season, and Brock Purdy is your best chance to win this season.
Why didn't they cancel the preseason game?
Because they can't.
Exactly. Because
so why do you play your quarterback?
Because you want your quarterback to get reps. You want your quarterback to get out there, break a sweat, and feel a little bit of the
just had him during joint practices because your head coach believes those are more valuable than preseason games anyways.
But you canceled joint practices because you didn't have enough bodies that you actually care about. So you didn't want to put him out there for joint practices with a bunch of 2s
in a game
for 11 snaps. Yeah.
Okay, he's going to take 11 snaps in a joint practice anyways.
It'd be more than that.
Takes 1 snap.
Yeah, they should. You know what?
Takes 1 snap.
And I'm going to send him an email. I'm going to text Bob when we get off here. And I'm going to let Bob know that, they need to shut him down until December.
You don't need to get this sarcastic about it.
I do.
Dude. No, you really don't.
I don't need to, but I like to.
We're not making a wild point here. We're not making a wild point.
I just think that it's bubble wrap. I think it's bubble wrap sports talk, and I don't buy into it.
The way you're talking, you should be furious that all the other guys didn't play. Because you're acting like this is a necessity to get timing and sweat and some reps. And, don't be fluffy. Go take a hit. Well, then where the hell was Kittle over the middle last night?
They can make their own choice. Brock wanted to play. So why are you guys trying to bubble wrap Brock Purdy?
Because Brock Purdy has bosses who make those decisions. Jaden Daniels is in Washington right now getting yelled at on the sideline every play because he has bosses who are trying to teach him how to protect him from himself. Absolutely. Herm Edwards came on our show and said, Ricky Pearsall now, he going to have to learn how to protect him from himself. Christian McCaffrey, protect him from him. Get out of here with Brock wanted to play, so he plays. It doesn't work like that.
Every player prepares differently.
Yes.
And if he wants to prepare by playing and the boss agrees, well, the boss said yes.
And I disagree with the boss.
Yes, okay. And that's, you're allowed to disagree with him.
Let me ask you this. Did you watch that game thinking, I wonder why Brock's playing?
No.
Really?
Not at all. Okay. No, I watched the game and thought, geez, I hope he's able to not get hurt because it's football and it could happen. It could happen in practice tomorrow. He could turn an ankle in the shower, for God's sakes. You never know. Wow. I watched him play and I thought, good, get your reps, go out there, break a sweat, see what you can do, and get off the field.
So did you take anything from those reps?
Not really.
Then what are the reps worth if you don't take anything from them?
The reps are worth him feeling the adrenaline and feeling the thrill.
So they are worth something.
To him, not to me.
But it's a preseason game. That doesn't mean anything.
But I didn't look at it and think, wow, 2 for 6, 11 yards. This guy's in trouble. He's gone from $50 million a year down to 49.7 because that was a bad preseason game. Everything has value. Every rep in practice, in a joint practice, in a scrimmage.
But you just said the preseason doesn't mean anything.
You asked me what I took from it. Yes. I took nothing from it. But what did he take from it? Probably a lot. He probably shook off some of the rust.
Oh, Purdy.
Brock Purdy, yeah. Gotcha. Shanahan obviously thought that it was important because, he would have liked to have him go out there for one long drive, but it turned out to be 3 bad drives. And I'm sure that he was thinking after 3 drives, okay, we'll get him off the field now. But for them, for the players, it's obviously worth something being out there and getting reps.
Well, but there were players out there not getting reps.
Right. So maybe those players didn't feel like they needed the reps. When you've got a 30-year-old tight end who's played 9 years, maybe he doesn't have the same run-up to a season that a third-year quarterback has.
No, my only point is that I was just confused.
Yeah, I get that.
Questioning why they were going. It's not a damnation of Kyle Shanahan. I'm not saying that Brock Purdy is no longer a $60 million or $30 million quarterback. It was weird to me watching the starting quarterback of a franchise that's expected to win a Super Bowl this year out there with any other guys that are also expected to help him compete for a Super Bowl.
I just wonder where that line is, though, because you had, when he broke the huddle for the first time, you had probably 5 other starters on the field, 5 or 6, maybe 4 offensive linemen. Is there a number where you think, okay, if he's got 8 of his starters, then we feel good about it? Does he need all 11? Is 5 enough? I just wonder where that line is where it's okay to then put Brock Purdy out there. Do we need Trent and Debo and Brandon and Kyle and George? Do we need them all out there and then we feel good? I don't know if that's the way I look at it. I look at it as he's healthy and the other guys maybe aren't as healthy. I know Brandon's got a bad back and he's holding in and Trent's holding out and McCaffrey's got a calf and Debo and George are just older players and maybe they don't need as much run up. So because of that, we don't play Brock because he doesn't have his guys around him. That to me feels more damaging to Brock than it would be to play him for 11 snaps.
I think one quick response would be if you're going to be on that side and you're going to lay out all these things that are positives to play, then why are those not applying to all of the other players who matter? That'd be my only question. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to build that case of these are all the reasons why the preseason matters and why it's important in the second game to be out there for 3 series, why does that not apply to every other high-priced, important player on the roster? Christian McCaffrey got a bug bite, and they told him to leave, and we'll see in September.
I think it's more than a bug bite.
Well, not really.
Taken.
I mean, you know what I mean?
It's a calf,
I get, and he's been running for weeks already. Like I get that it's Christian and it's a running back, and he's older, and I understand all that. To me, there's a flow to football, and I'm not putting a player who holds the ball. Therefore, the other people are going to try to get him. I'm not putting him out there with people who are potentially not even NFL players. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
That's a terrible risk reward in my mind.
Sure.
That's all.
Sure.
That's all.
I just think when you have other players like, George and Debo have played darn near probably more than 100 games, and McCaffrey's played more than 100 games, and you've got a quarterback who's played, I think you mentioned it earlier, he started 21 games. So here's a guy who still has a lot of football that I'm sure he's looking to play, and he's looking to get out there and improve. He's 23 years old, and so
a lot of young guys also sat. Juwan sat. Jordan Mason sat.
Yeah, Jordan Mason's hurt.
Well,
so
a lot of people are hurt.
No doubt. That's why they canceled joint practices.
Brandon Ayuk is apparently hurt.
He's got a back. Yeah.
I mean,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, I'm not offended.
I haven't seen the
by
medicals, so
I'm not offended by it. I just think it's a decision that I found. I'm with you, E. I just found it surprising.
4-1. Here's how I'll end it. 415 on the Xfinity Mobile text line. Shanahan had him in there for a reason.
Sure.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be out there. Right. And I don't know that we'll find out what that reason
That's kind of a catch-all, though. Like, if you're going to say that, then don't ever question a play call ever again. Don't question a play call.
Or an overtime decision to take the ball.
Because no coach in the NFL, especially not a good one, is like, we're going to do something today for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Right.
They've all got they've all got a reason. There's a thought process, and we are allowed to question it. And to me, that is a bold strategy last night. Let's see if it works out for him. Bold strategy. I wouldn't have done it.
All righty.
Brock's too important.
Let's let it there on 95.7, The Game.